What's up friends, Jonny May here and welcome to this week's quick tip where I'm going to teach you what I think is the most beautiful minor chord progression. You just heard me playing it, and the surprising thing about this chord progression is it only uses 3 chords. So it's very simple to play, but what makes it sound so magical is how I transform these kind of ordinary minor chords into this really beautiful chord progression. So I'm going to show you this left hand progression, and I'm going to show you kind of what I was doing in the right hand to improvise over it. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, we're going to start with a very simple chord progression. We're going to use the chords C minor, we're going to use the chord F minor, and we're going to use the chord G minor, okay? And these are great sounding minor chords if you want to improvise at the piano, but after a while, if you just play the chords like this, it's not going to sound very interesting. What if instead you could take the same chords and make them sound like this? Gorgeous, and I'm actually just adding a few notes to these chords, which I'm going to show you next. But before we do this, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. Alright, so how am I taking these ordinary minor chords and making them sound so beautiful? Well, we're going to go chord by chord, and I want to show you exactly what I'm doing. So let's look at the first chord, C minor. Check out my left hand. Isn't that gorgeous? What the heck am I playing? Well, first I want to break down the notes that I'm adding, and then I'll kind of show you rhythmically what I'm doing. So I'm taking my C minor chord and I'm just adding 3 notes to the chord, and it's actually super simple. The first note I'm adding is a whole step above the root, the D. We call this the 9 when we're adding notes, but you can think of it like the second note of the C scale. The second note we're adding is the 4th, the F. And again, you can think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 notes up from the root. And then we're also adding a really gorgeous note called the 7th, and that's the B flat, okay? And this is the 7th note up on the C minor scale, or you could think of it just as a whole step down from C, okay? So once again, we're playing a C minor chord, and we're adding 3 notes, the D, the F, and the B flat. Okay? Now, a quick little trick to remembering the notes that you can add, if you look at these 3 notes, it's actually a simple B flat major chord. Isn't that cool? Okay? So the trick, if you want to add notes to a minor chord, is you play the C minor and you go down a whole step from C, and that's a B flat, and you play a major chord, and these are the notes that you can add. By the way, if you want to learn more about the notes that you can add to chords, check out our chord extensions course over at pianowithjonny.com. I teach you all of the notes that you can add to major chords, minor chords, basically any type of chord. I'll put a link to that below. All right, once you have the notes that you can add to your chord, then you want to play them in an interesting way. And I call this chord stacking. And here's a great way to play it. We're going to start with the C on the bottom, G, D, E flat, little crunch there, B flat, F. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm basically playing the notes of C minor along with the notes of B flat major, okay? But what makes it sound so magical is I'm crunching some of the notes together. I'm putting that D with that E flat, and you get that little dissonance there, okay? And this is what makes it sound so beautiful and magical and haunting, is you get these 2 notes kind of crushed together. So what if we were to try this on our F minor chord, right? Well, this is what it would sound like. Isn't that beautiful? So what am I doing? Well, I'm taking my F minor chord, and I'm going to use that little trick. I'm going to go down a whole step from F to the E flat, and I'm going to play a major chord. And here are all of the notes that I can add to my F minor to make it sound gorgeous. So let's stack the notes again. Here we go. F, C, G, A flat, E flat, B flat. Ah, isn't that gorgeous? Let's play it again. Isn't that just lovely? And you can just repeat this again and again if you wanted. And then you could go back to your C. Okay, now I like to add a little pickup note before I play the C chord. I go G, C. You see that? I'll do it again, just like this. G, C. 3, 4, G, C. Okay? So practice that, get nice and comfortable with it. By the way, I wanted to mention the names of these chords in case you were wondering. Whenever you're adding notes to a chord like an F minor, if I add the E flat, we call this an F minor 7. It's the 7th of the chord. And if I add that note, we call this the 9. So this is called an F minor 9. And then if you add the B flat, this is called an F minor 11. And the reason we call it by these names is because we stack chords in thirds. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. All right, in just a minute, I'm going to show you how to improvise some beautiful melodies in your right hand, but I want to quickly show you how to play this technique on your G minor chord. So if you played this on G minor, it would sound like this. So pretty. So for this one, we're taking our G minor chord. I'm going to go down a whole step from G. Here's our F. I'm going to play an F major chord, and then these are all of the notes that I can add to my G minor chord to make it sound beautiful. So let's stack the notes now. We have G, D, A, B flat, F, C. Okay? And then we do that little pickup note, D, and back to G. Isn't that beautiful? And then if you want, you can go back to your C. See what we're doing here? All right, the next thing I want to show you is how you can improvise over this chord progression. I'm going to do a quick little sample improv, and then I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I'm using. And believe it or not, when I was just improvising, I was only using 7 notes the entire time. So you can use just one scale to improvise over all of these chords. So here's the scale. It's actually super simple. It's called the C natural minor scale. And we have the following notes: C, D, E flat, and then we have F, G, A flat, and B flat. Okay, play that scale. It's actually a beautiful sounding scale. And what I love about this scale is it works over all of the chords. So if you're playing a C minor in your left hand, right, sounds great. If I'm playing an F minor in my left hand, it also sounds really nice. Now there is an exception on the G chord. If you want to play this scale on the G minor chord, you do need to alter one note. You need to make that A flat an A natural, because the A flat, it kind of clashes with the chord. So instead of playing this scale on the G chord, you're going to play this scale using the A natural, and it's going to sound a lot better. By the way, if you want to learn some other really cool scales that you can use to improvise over these chords, check out our course, Scales for Improv on Major and Minor Chords. I teach you a bunch of really cool scales, plus some great techniques to create some really interesting improvisations. I'll put a link to that below. All right, so how do you actually improvise using this C natural minor scale over these chords in an interesting way? Well, if you're just getting started with improvisation, it can be a little bit overwhelming to have all of these chords changing, especially with an accompaniment in the left hand, and to try to create interesting lines in your right hand. And so what I recommend that you do is you practice using simple chord grips. And here's how it works. If you take the first 5 notes of your C natural minor, here are the notes. I recommend that you practice improvising with just these 5 notes. I call this the C grip. And so as an example, you could take your C minor chord and then switch to F. And just practice making little lines in your right hand. Isn't that pretty? I also recommend that you try the F grip, which are these 5 notes. And you can do the same thing. Start on your C minor chord and just make up little lines. You can even go to your G chord. Okay, notice how I changed the A flat to the A to match the chord better. All right, the last thing I want to mention before we improvise together is that it might be helpful for you to simplify your left hand accompaniment. And remember earlier I taught you this beautiful left hand? Okay? It sounds great by itself, but as soon as you start improvising over it, it can be a little bit tricky to line up your rhythms. And so something that you can do is what I call a flowing accompaniment. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that left hand chord and you're just going to put a note on every beat. So you can play it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And this is a lot easier to improvise over. Try it on the F chord. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And then you can do it on your G chord. Let's give it a try. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then back to your C chord. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? All right, we are to the final step, and we're gonna basically take everything that you just learned and we're gonna put it all together into a beautiful minor piano improvisation, and we're gonna play along with a backing track. And I wanted to mention that this lesson comes with a downloadable backing track, plus you can download the lesson sheet music you're seeing up here on the top left of your screen. And you can change the key of this entire lesson with a click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below, and let's go ahead and improvise over this with the included backing track. Let's start on our C grip. Here we go. And we're gonna go to our F chord. And let's go to our G chord. And let's go back to the C chord. All right, let's mix it with our grip number 2, our F grip. And the C grip. Let's go to the F grip. And the C grip. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the lesson, please let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 1,000 step-by-step lessons for all playing levels where you'll learn your favorite songs, styles, and how to improvise at the piano. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.